What's up, everybody? It's your boy Justin from Justin Paul Sports. We're doing a special Sunday show of Cover 2 Cash where we are discussing the live college football playoff rankings as they're about to come out in about 15 minutes. So we just wanted to get started a little early as we will be reacting in real time to these rankings. And we all know how fair the playoff committee is. So at this time, I'm going to bring in my guest who always does Cover 2 Cash with me, my host from the host, Bobby, from the great state of Mississippi. Bobby, what's going on? How you feeling this Sunday morning?
You know, honestly, yesterday we had some good games and some bad games. I thought the Big Ten championship was amazing. That was a phenomenal game, very defensive heavy game, but obviously the SEC championship didn't do too well, and the Big 12. I mean, Texas Tech just beat the hell out of BYU, but still, it was exciting to watch and very interesting to see who gets snubbed from the college football playoff. I know Bama has a chance to. I think they'll get in. I think BYU's firmly out now. Does Miami make it in? Does Notre Dame make it in? It's a lot of interesting things going on here. So I'm definitely excited. Here in about 13 minutes, they're going to announce.
Yeah, we'll have it on live side by side. And of course, due to the way things work with broadcasting and all that stuff, we obviously can't have the audio or the video. So we're going to react in real time. But let's do a quick recap of the games. I mean, let's start with, we had the first game, which was Texas Tech and BYU. And kind of like when we went over the games, we kind of had a feeling Texas Tech was going to just go crazy with them. The game was close, but BYU had a fear of holding on to the football, 4 turnovers in the Big 12 championship game. Quarterback absolutely felt deflated. I mean, Texas Tech just kind of ran away with it. There was a point in the game where it was 13-7 and Texas Tech was inside the red zone, and all they had to do was kick a field goal and decided to go for it, didn't get it. Yep. And I texted some family members and said, look, I think that BYU is going to come down here and score and make them pay for it. And luckily, Texas Tech intercepted the ball almost right after you type it. Of course, that's how it goes down, and then takes it to the house and then just kind of puts the belt to the rear end. So because of how BYU was ranked, here's the argument. BYU, everybody's saying, well, BYU played in a conference championship game, they should get a bid. Well, and lost. If Bama lost a championship game and gets a bid, they both should get in. Well, the difference is BYU wasn't ranked high enough to be considered to not lose their conference title game and be bumped out like Alabama was, if that makes sense to everybody. BYU was not ranked higher than Notre Dame, which they should have been, but they weren't. And since they weren't, that's why the argument doesn't apply to BYU. Yep. Now, I know college football fans that are watching. We got 20 viewers right now. Thanks for tuning in. Absolutely. We know that college football fans, totally rational, totally, they don't have any biases when it comes to who they want in the college football playoff. They definitely do not do that. I mean, college football fans are just the most genuine, kind, thoughtful. I mean, they're so gracious when they win. I mean, I've just never seen anything quite like college football, especially in the SEC. I mean, I was reading the amazing comments of how, Alabama just, how everybody just absolutely was so kind to them after their loss, just nonetheless, I'm being facetious. But let's go to the talk real quick about the SEC championship game.
Well, before we move on, I want to kind of go over the Big 12 championship a little bit. Even though, Texas Tech, they're in a sound position. I mean, position right now. They're going to host a college football playoff game, pretty sure. And BYU, unfortunately, I thought that they would cover, and it was looking really good in the first half. I mean, 1-possession game at halftime, and then, you're trotting out a true freshman quarterback out there wearing number 47 of all numbers. That was interesting, right? But he's played great all year, and the Texas Tech defense was just really getting after him. They couldn't really – the offense was a little archaic, and, yeah, I mean, Texas Tech, they spent a lot of money on that roster, and it showed, and they absolutely – destroyed them in the second half. So very interesting to see where Texas Tech stacks up with the rest of these monsters like Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, those teams. I'm going to see all the teams that are ranked higher than them. I really want to see how well they'll be able to match up. So, but go ahead and let's talk about the SEC championship. I know that's a topic that you want to talk about. So,
well, I'll say this. Everybody, this is why I've been telling everybody that I'm going to have a meltdown if Alabama misses. It's not because I'm an Alabama fan. It's because of the precedent set last year by the committee. SMU lost to a Clemson team that was ranked beneath them. Alabama lost to a Georgia team ranked above them. SMU lost their conference championship game, was not bumped. They were bumped down, but not out. So Alabama should be bumped down, in my opinion, to the last seed, but not out. Because what you're going to do is you're going to set a college football precedent that says you can potentially be secure in your playoff, because Alabama was secure in their playoff seeding prior to this extra credit assignment, I guess you want to call it, right? Do you take away points for playing in the conference championship game? Well, we have to go on history. A lot of people like to say, well, back in the BCS era, Auburn lost and didn't play, but this is a 12-team playoff. It's not a 2-team thing anymore. Yep. They talk about Florida State, and this isn't me excusing Alabama. It's like, look, when the Florida State thing happened, we saw a body of work after their quarterback got injured in that meaningless Alabama A&M game or whatever they played, Jordan Travis, how they deeply struggled against an inferior Louisville team. Remember, Alabama was the underdog yesterday. They weren't the number one team. They weren't ranked over Georgia. And I think that there's a lot of Bama fatigue, even though they haven't won a championship in 5 years and Georgia's been kind of running the show. They just have. And I think that they just want to fit their narrative to try and troll people, but that's not how it works. You know, do I think Florida State should have been in that year they went undefeated? Yes, I do. Do I see why the committee did it a little bit? Yes, I do. And I think when the committee did it, the reasoning is when we had that Final 14 playoff, right, Alabama was ranked 8th prior to going into the SEC championship game weekend. And they beat the number one team in on the committees. And Nick Saban said best that we just beat the best team in your playoff bracket if they were saying, should we get in? And Washington was undefeated, and Texas only had one loss, but they had the tiebreaker over Alabama. I thought Georgia should have stayed in that year, honestly. So I think that there's like kind of a murky, precedent of what we're going to set. But last year with the 12-team committee, they set it with the SMU one. They set it. And they said, we're not going to remove, because SMU did not move. In fact, when Bryce Young was at Alabama, they did the same thing to TCU. TCU lost it to an inferior. They lost the Big 12 championship. It's escaping. I think it was Kansas State. Yes, because Alabama played Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl, and they did not move TCU out, folks. So
and they got smoked.
Yeah, but TCU. But that's the thing. TCU was undefeated. They lost the conference championship game, but they remained 4. That's what I'm saying. Like, Alabama needs to win their games to get in these things, and every time it comes down to somebody else or them, they've been short-sticked. I don't care what y'all say. If they lose, it just happens, folks. And that's why I'm ready to just absolutely read the riot act if they're left out again. I don't think that I think that they're going to – I think the rankings will have them in the last spot.
I think 11 or 12 is going to be –
I don't care what it is. Just don't bump them out. No, I don't think it'll be 12. 12, I think, will go to James Madison, because I think with Duke pulling that upset last night, winning the ACC at 7-5, I don't think we're going to see an ACC team in the playoff field. I think we're going to see James Madison as the 12 and Tulane at 11. I think you're going to see.
What a great win for Tulane, too. I know the coaching changes, had an effect on North Texas, but man, they just murked North Texas.
Well, both those teams, that was the original coach for both those teams, and both those coaches took better jobs. One's going to Oklahoma State. And I thought, we were talking about that Friday. I picked North Texas as my play, and I thought that offense was but their defense, really got shoved around by Tulane. So I think we're going to see Tulane in there. I think we're going to see James Madison. I think we're going to see Alabama in as the last team. And I think Notre Dame, unfortunately, gets in, because there is a metric for Notre Dame and Miami. These two teams played in week 1. There is a head-to-head tiebreaker. If there is a just cause, the Irish are out.
Yep.
The reason why I say Alabama's in over Notre Dame and Miami is those two teams did not play a game and have anything to risk yesterday.
Yep.
Miami did not play in the ACC championship. Notre Dame is not in a conference. I'm not hearing it with these teams. Like, if you played in the conference championship and you were in the top 10, right? If you were qualified prior to conference championship weekend as a playoff spot, you should not get bumped out of the playoff. That, again, I'm sounding like I'm beating it to death, but that's just kind of what it should be.
Considering
What's
when
your
like
take?
the
What do you think?
eighth, well, I mean, if you're, let's say, Ole Miss, for example,
Mm-hmm.
they were not good enough to make the conference championship. They were good, and they're single-handedly going to. I don't think. I don't really know if. I think the championship week, there just has to be something to play for there. And the way the college football playoff works right now, I know John Gruden pitched his solution, but the college football playoff, I think they should be basically announce who's making it and who's not making it before championship week. And then that kind of renders championship week kind of meaningless. It's almost like a bragging rights trophy, which I don't want that. That just makes divisions pretty much meaningless. But you can't punish a team for losing a game in the championship game if they are already eligible.
Well, that's what they did last year. They didn't punish SMU. That's the point
Yeah.
I'm going to keep driving home is precedent. Because so here's the argument, right? Everybody wants to hound on Alabama for the Florida State loss. Folks, we get it. It happened. You're right. And they did get punished for it at week 2. They dropped substantially in the rankings and worked their way back up. But what people don't want to do is reward Alabama for going to Athens and being the only team to beat Georgia this year. So they have a win over the highest conference. They have a win over the SEC champ, folks. Notre Dame does not have that. Miami does not have that. BYU had 2 chances at Tech, did not have that. It's like, if you're going to punish, fine, but you got a reward too. And then when you just get a rematch against that same team who's ranked higher than you, I'm just saying they need to put them in. We're looking for, there's got a little Tulane watch party going on over here.
2.5 minutes, baby.
We're going to get going, folks. Like, they better, I'm just telling you, like, yeah, I'm a Bama fan and my heart is in it, obviously, to see them get in naturally but it's also what's right. Last year, we weren't fully sure on the playoff committee's precedent. And when they announced SMU to get in there, I just kind of dealt with it, and went on to the ReliaQuest Bowl. And, Jalen Milroe did Jalen Milroe things and lost to Michigan again. But if they're not in this year, they're going to, like, because what you're talking about with John Gruden's plan, there's not going to be, nobody's going to play in that conference championship game, because then you're saying we're locked in the playoff. Why are we going to risk injury? Why are we going to risk, it's basically meaningless. It actually is not basically meaningless. It's worthless. Going into the SEC championship game, Alabama was the 1 seed. They had the tiebreaker over Georgia, folks. Nobody else has that. And Georgia is a better win than anybody not named Indiana. Indiana's got, good wins. I have to apologize to Hoosier fans. I've been beating up Indiana all year.
Yeah.
And I said I had to see it. I've been relentless on them, and now I'm going to back off, because that's what you do when you're wrong. When you're wrong about something, you back off it. So Indiana showed last night. They play, but man, did you see that post-game interview with Fernando Mendoza?
That was electric. What a stud. That might be good. He didn't play the best because the defense for Ohio State was amazing. Indiana's defense was really good as well. I mean, it was just sack city. You pressure city all day for both teams. And Mendoza played good enough to where I think he has an argument, a pretty clean argument right now, to be the number 1 overall pick in 2026.
All right, Bobby, it is time. We are starting to go here. 30 seconds. They've even got a nice little countdown on ESPN. I am not going to be reading the comments. I'm not going to be reading the comments because we're reacting in real time. I won't let you spoil it, Bobby. Please don't put them up on the screen. We don't have any comments right now. We do have 23 viewers. I want to thank you guys for tuning in very much. So in the short term, I just want to pop this up here for you guys to do me a little favor here. And let's just see where this is, because it's a nice little trick here. Please do the following. And we would absolutely love for you to like and subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to Bobby's channel for Bobby's Big Board. He's going to have some new stuff coming up soon. But folks, it's time. If you love college football, this is where you want to be. and we will definitely be reacting in real time. There shouldn't be any major surprises amongst the top of what's going on as far as who they're going to select with Indiana and Ohio State, things along those sorts. So it's just going to be towards the bottom of everything. So feed's a little choppy right now, but like I said, congratulations to Indiana. I mean, like you said, they just it was a pretty crazy third down play call, to kind of ice the game in a 13-10 game. But man, the kicker missed that chip shot field goal for Ohio State that really, really kind of did them in. I mean, it's 13-10. You can't have, as they like to say, a tight sphincter is just the most appropriate way to put it. You got to be able to execute. And they're showing Notre Dame and Miami. I don't think that Notre Dame should get in. I don't. What's your take on Notre Dame, Miami? I mean, don't you think the head-to-head should be just the ultimate decider?
I would say so. I mean, Notre Dame has some decent wins, but they beat ranked Navy, I think. But I mean, you have to. I mean, they lost to A&M. They lost to Miami. I mean, I feel like I don't feel like they belong here. I think that they get upset in the first round, and I think Miami also probably gets shut out in the first round. But I think they have a better team overall, and I think they can hang at least offensively better. So, yeah, I like Miami over.
Bobby, do you want to pull up your little graphic for everybody? We're just going to kind of
yeah, I can. I'm in the midst of working on it, but I can show you guys kind of what's going on here. So, I think it's pretty obvious Indiana's going to be the 1 seed. It's not official yet, but I mean, it's basically official. I think they're going to be the 1 seed. So, I already have Indiana up here. This is just a little graphic just to kind of give you guys some visuals as it happens. So very excited to see who gets snubbed here. Not because I just want to see who in their mind they think is going to be left out here. Who deserves to be left out?
Oh, they're showing the ESPN reporters like live around campuses. I'm surprised Marty Smith didn't get stuck at Ole Miss again after him waiting on that Lane Kiffin decision for a bunch of hours. And that's still kind of crazy to me that he took that job at LSU, but the money is just out to lunch. I can't blame him for taking it, but they've got to fix the college football calendar, man. Like, it's not fair to the university. It's even not fair to the coach. Like, I think that Lane Kiffin wants to coach Ole Miss through the rest of the season. I mean, he did build that team. He recruited those players. I don't think that he's, some necessarily.
Then don't take the job until you're done. I mean, it's not. You had all the leverage. It's not. You can tell them, "Hey, I'm going to coach, and I'll let you know." Like it's that easy. It's not like they were going to find someone else.
Well, you don't know.
Even if they did, I mean, Kiffin can be like, "Hey, I'm ready." I mean, they would go grab him immediately. So I think Ole Miss, man.
All right. So here's a little Schadenfreude for me. If Alabama gets in the playoff, and they better, I would love to see them take the trip to Oxford. A couple rematch things here. First of all, that's a SEC rivalry spot. Okay. And then Pete Golding is a pariah to Alabama fans for him. He dropped Will Anderson into coverage. You are not qualified to coach if you're dropped. Can you imagine dropping Reggie White into coverage? Like, you don't do this. And that's the kind of stuff.
It does speak volumes.
Hold on, Bobby. Hold on. I'm going to finish up. He was dropping Will Anderson in the coverage. Alabama had Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bill O'Brien absolutely butchered that to where they couldn't win football games. Like, it's just those guys. But I'd like to see, that's a Schadenfreude. I'd like to see Alabama go to Oxford. I'm sure you'd be a Crimson Tide fan for that game. I know you're not an Ole Miss guy, right?
Yeah, why not? I'm not a hater of Alabama, even though, our only time Mississippi State was ever number 1, we had to, lose to you guys and then kind of mess everything up. But yeah, I mean, it does speak volumes that literally the same day that Kiffin goes, they announce him as the permanent head coach, not an interim thing. They're like, "Hey, you're our guy." So that speaks volume about how the school thinks about him as a coach. So excited to see what he does. I mean, the Ole Miss defense has been the strength of that team for the past few years. I mean, they led the SEC in sacks last year in 2024. They've been a pretty solid defense this year as well. Hence why they're making their college football playoff appearance. So definitely excited to see what he does throughout the playoff and see if Ole Miss just collapses offensively. We'll have to see.
Well, you just don't know. I mean, there's just psychological things that happen when your coach changes teams. It can either motivate you or it can deflate you. And it seemed like there were some players that were retweeting Lane Kiffin talking about, "Oh, you're full of shit." So, when you do stuff like that, that's not a good look on you. And they could be bitter. You never know the relationship. Sometimes players' relationship with a coach goes sour. And when that's kind of stuff happens, that's just kind of how they react. They're still young.
Yeah.
But I really wish that the committee would just kind of get to it. We don't know how long this is going to be till they start doing the reveal. But
warming us up a little bit. They're trying to get us invested. Kirk Herbstreit's on here just talking his thing.
They don't want to. What they don't do is they're cutting into the NFL pre-shows right now. So feed's a little choppy right now, but we'll get there nonetheless.
Yeah.
I just want to take a look at something here. They're probably getting a lot of.
Wow.
No bueno.
I wonder how much longer it's going to be before they start because 11. We're 10 minutes into the feed now, and they haven't said anything.
Yeah,
they're just talking about it. Y'all have the answers already.
Yep. Yeah, the feed's a little choppy. But we're going to get there, folks. We're going to get there. We're going to have, like I said, real-time reactions as they come into. I don't see any other feeds options up there. But we have 26 viewers. So thank you guys again so much for joining. We hope you like and subscribe. We hope you tune into Cover 2 Cash every Friday. We will have a new episode up this week for your weekly start sits. I am considering going to do a live stream of the Packers' victory over the Bears today. Yeah, I'm putting that on camera now because I do think that that's what's going to happen. Oh, Bobby stepped away for a moment. He must be trying to do something. Bobby's got family, got kids and stuff like that. So, but we should be excited for these college football playoffs. I mean, a lot of pushback on traditionalists saying we don't need more than 4, and then they want to expand it to 20 and 50 and all this stuff. I think that college football has 140 something odd teams to where you can absolutely do a 16-team playoff and get rid of these conference championship games altogether, push the calendar up a week, and 2 weeks after rivalry week, you get a bye week, and everything thereafter is when the playoff starts. And then if you want to have your subsidized bowls like the Pop-Tarts Bowl and all these other bowl games and stuff along that line, you absolutely can have those. But so many players opt out in the NIL. And I think you could do that. But I think if you focus more on 16 teams making it in, you do the entire first round on campus, and then you can do your neutral bowl site, things along that sort. That would make college football a little bit better. I think 16 is reasonable because you're still in the top 10% of the echelon. And you only have a handful of auto bids. Like you would have the Big 10, the SEC, and the Big 12. Actually, if you're removing the championship game format, you can use elements of a committee and the BCS and head-to-head matchups. And I think that you'd be able to really get a strength for or grip on what you think the best teams would be to qualify for a 16-team playoff. Because it feels kind of wonky that you have these buys, 4 teams get a bye. In 16, like I said, you just host on campus. It'd be great for the fans. Imagine college like Ohio State and Tennessee last year was just a great environment. You had all those Tennessee fans go up north, thought they were tough guys with their shirts off, but they went right back in the locker room. And Ohio State, Will Howard absolutely just gave them the business. So
yeah, well, look, that Ohio State team last year, I'm curious to see what happens when Will Howard suits up for a game, man, because he's got some talent to him, man. He doesn't have the best deep ball, but yeah, he's with the Steelers. An interesting situation for him because obviously Aaron Rodgers is out. So what do? Do they move forward with Rudolph? No, they've already tried that. That didn't work. So Will Howard absolutely might get a few starts this next season. So I'm excited to see how he does. But your boy Saban's on the broadcast right now talking about Alabama's resume. I'm sure there's nobody that's going to speak higher to Alabama's resume than Nick Saban himself. But we do have 27 viewers right now. Guys, normally we do our show on Friday, so if you missed that, don't worry. I know games are about to be coming on here in the next hour or so.
Yep.
So if you guys have any last-minute start-sit questions for fantasy football, I'm your guy for
Sure.
fantasy football. If you got some last-minute betting slips, you guys on the fence about making this or that bet, Justin Paul is your guy for the sports bets. So you kind of get a little bit of best of both worlds here. But it looks like they might actually start talking here.
Yeah, I've had an ice cold week, man. I had Friday. Friday I had North Texas. They got pounded. I had Alabama yesterday. They got pounded. They're showing some Alabama stuff right now. I mean, a couple quick things that they're showing on the screen. The only FBS team to win in top 10 at FPI, strength of schedule, strength of record. The only one. So that should be tiebreaker number one. Best win of the season on the road at Georgia, folks. Mind you, they played Georgia in Athens and in Atlanta. Kalen DeBoer, after the game, he said, why should – they were trying to kind of pitch him and say, well, why should Alabama be in? Like, what's your, criteria? And he gave a nuanced answer. He said, we went in this game. He said it was a 14-point game. We had the football with 7 minutes left. He said we weren't thinking about the score. We're trying to win the SEC championship, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a fair point to say if we're going to worry about points more than winning a football game,
then that defeats the whole purpose of the football, the whole point of the game.
And that's not like, it's just kind of wild thing. All right, they got Notre Dame on here. They're saying Marcus Freeman saying who are the best teams now. They lost 2 games by a combined 4 points. That's fair. And one of those was Texas A&M, and the other was Miami. 10 straight wins, 29 points per game over the span. Well, okay, Notre Dame, you had Stanford. I saw Navy on there. Like,
Navy was a solid football team this year, but, I mean, so was Army. I mean, they had Army last year. They were a top 25 team. I think they were like 10 or 11 when they played Notre Dame, but it's like it's Army. I am a big Black Knights fan, but Army, the talent that they get for recruits is not up to par with these college football, these top 10 teams. So
I don't mean to cut you off, but they're talking about Miami's talking points. They're confident after yesterday. The head-to-head win versus Notre Dame.
That's a big one.
Fully agree with that. But then they got in quotes, should not be a debate. There should not be a debate about the Notre Dame game. I think Alabama and Miami should be in and Notre Dame should be out. And it's based on there's a head-to-head game there. Like, there's no head-to-head between Alabama and Notre Dame or Miami because Notre Dame schedules Stanford and, Kent State and all this stuff like that. And Miami plays in a weaker conference. I think that's what's working against those two teams.
Yeah.
I think Miami should only – if Miami's going to remain independent, they have to only have 1 loss to get the auto bid. If you're going to play those kinds of rules, you can't have 2 losses and be considered for the playoff. Only for Notre Dame.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I mean, come on. Like,
look. Duke Blue Devils, baby.
Well, they won't get in. They won't get in.
Unless.
They've got 5 losses. So if they put Duke with 5 losses in the college football playoff, there's no need for criteria for anything.
You just got to win your conference. Then that means conference championships are a big deal.
Well, they are, but Sun Belt, James Madison, and Tulane are ranked higher than Duke. So just because Duke's a Power 4 team, that's not the criteria. You see? There's no auto bids. Remember, Boise State got a bye last year.
I remember that. That was, and then they got waxed.
Duke's got nothing to stand on. I mean, congrats on that win. Did you watch the end of that game?
No, I was not watching the Duke-Virginia game,
So Ohio State was ended, and Duke was up 10. And Virginia tied the game. They had a game-winning drive. It was 20-13. Goes into overtime. Duke tries running this play-action stuff, but then they finally decide to do what they had been doing successfully all night and running the football. They score that go-ahead touchdown in overtime. Then Virginia gets their chance and throws an interception. All right, college football selection principles. Strength of schedule, head-to-head. Cool. That's got to put Notre Dame out. Comparative outcomes of common opponents without incentivizing margin of victory, folks.
Thank God.
Unavailability of key players. Let's talk about who was out for Alabama yesterday. Jam Miller, LT Overton right there. Xavier Brown got injured. they're missing. They had like 9, 10 players on the injury report, key starters.
Yep.
So all these metrics right here that's ESPN's talking about, it's got to favor the Crimson Tide getting in, folks. I know that the haters want to see them get put out, and they want to see me crash out if they put out, because I'm going to have some bombs, boy, if they do, because they're going against their selection principles.
Yep.
Remember, we go over college football picks every week.
Yep.
And there was a time when Alabama played 4 straight ranked games, while Notre Dame was playing, like that's the thing. We don't even know who Notre Dame played last year. They played Northern Illinois 2 years ago, lost at home. Nobody penalized them for that. They want to penalize Alabama for Florida State, but they didn't penalize Notre Dame for losing to NIU, who had the same record in a MAC conference. And they played, mind you, Alabama played at Florida State. Like, these are things they don't want to tell you. Like they just want to pick on Bama, and I'm going to scream. They're showing the committee right now. I hope they got armed security to get out of there, because there might be some crazy college football fans going hanging around the facility. They look like they're drowsy. Look like they've been up all night thinking about it.
I mean, I feel like I feel like the hardest part about this, if I was a part of this decision, would be who's left out. I feel like the top 8 teams are pretty set in stone here, in my opinion. It's just the last 4 spots. Who do you give it to? So I definitely, and based on the criteria here, Miami had the harder schedule, in my opinion, compared to Notre Dame. Have the same record, right? They have 2 losses each, right? Notre Dame and Miami.
Say again?
Miami and Notre Dame have the same amount of losses, right? 2?
Yes.
Okay. And then they won the head-to-head. I think Miami has the same record with the harder schedule, and they also won the head-to-head. That should automatically put them in. I don't think there's much more discussion to be had about that. But we will see. So,
all right, looks like they're finally starting to get around to putting some of this
20 minutes into the broadcast.
We got 30 viewers, folks. I know that I've been getting a little messages that I'm looking a little blurry. I'm just going to have to deal with it for this episode, because I don't have enough time to kind of. All right, here we go.
All right.
They're going to commercial. Of course they are.
No shot. No shot.
All right, Bobby, while we're doing that, tell me, does this make it better or worse?
You look very dark now. I think, remember the last time we had the background, it was making...
How about that?
No, you're still a little blurry. Try to turn like your actual camera off and back on. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do all that. Let's just take a look
here. Nah, that didn't do much.
All right, let's just try one more thing here. Sorry, folks. Just trying to get in the text messages, and that's just because people care. So I guess we'll just go with this, folks. I'm trying to get a green screen set up back here, and this looks terrible right now. Is that better?
That's much, much better. We're back in it.
Just go with natural lighting. Trying to get a green screen. Trying to upgrade the channel, ladies and gentlemen.
Heck yeah.
But so yeah, we did see some good games though. Like, and then the Big Ten championship was obviously Fernando Mendoza though in his post game interview was just like, "We're not supposed to be here." Did you see him? Like,
he was so happy, man. I love that. Look, he literally looked like he just got off of a battlefield.
Somebody said a nerd finally won the championship. That was just funny.
Mendoza, man, and I saw that I didn't even know his little brother played at Indiana. I don't know what class he is, but like Mendoza action. Mendoza goes to the NFL. Maybe his brother gets a chance as well. That would be kind of cool. So you have a bloodline there for Indiana.
O'Rourke for Indiana last year. His brother is a Canadian CFL legend.
Really? So. Yeah, Curtis Rourke, that dude's a monster. He played last year. He took Indiana to the college football playoff on a torn ACL. He had a torn ACL all year. And he played with a torn ACL, guys, all year. Because he wanted it that bad. That's what football's all about, man. And he got drafted.
ESPN is got a countdown on saying exclusive reveal. So I think when they come back from commercial in a minute, they're going to finally reveal the bracket, and they better put Alabama in. They better do it.
So do you think they're going to do it team by team and kind of do a slow burn, or are they just going to be like, here it is?
They're going to do it from right top to bottom. They're going to give you. They're going to give the anticipation for the last spot because that's television, folks. That's entertainment. They want you to anticipate who that last spot's going to be, especially since all night everybody's been saying, "Oh man, Alabama look like shit. They shouldn't be in that game. They lost to Georgia. They got their butts whipped." And everybody's like, "Oh, they need to just go ahead and put Miami and Notre Dame in there because they're so good, guys." They didn't play a conference championship game, but Miami should just be in there. Notre Dame should just be in there because we're the fighting Irish. I don't think so, pal.
Well, I think y'all had a harder schedule than both of those teams. I mean, obviously, we're going to have a bias because we think the SEC is the best division in football. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure Alabama has more top 25 wins, right?
The rankings say it. We don't make the rankings. A lot of people that are dumb say, "Oh, ESPN's got the SEC contract and all the money." I'm just not having it, folks. I'm not going to hear it. And if we're gonna go with the rankings, if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna say it's bias, okay.
The flipping champs, baby. The flipping champs.
Do you know who the most watched team was this year in college football, according to the Nielsen ratings?
Who?
Roll Damn Tide.
Roll Damn Tide. Huh?
So secretly they want them in there so they can hate watch it. Let's just be real about it, folks. And last year they were left out. And instead you got to watch an SMU team go into Penn State. And we saw how that unraveled quickly. It was good for the Big 12, and SMU had a good season last year. I was actually surprised Brett Lashley decided to stay there. They extended him. A lot of extensions in this offseason due to that whole Lane Kiffin debacle. So, all right, let's reveal the rankings, folks. Come on, enough of this pageantry. All right, you got your graphic ready? Looks like we're go. You just type it in real time.
Yeah, we're typing it in real time because I could guess, but all right, let's see who it is. Who's getting the bye?
Oh, so I think the first four are pretty easy. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen. We are live. 31 viewers. Number one's got to be Indiana.
Indiana Hoosiers. Absolutely. El numero uno.
No surprise there.
Yeah.
There's no shock. I mean, congratulations. 13-0. It's a bit of a soft schedule, but nonetheless, did get the job done. Beat Oregon on the road. Beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship last night. Defensively, they shut down another guy who was up for the Heisman, Julian Sayin. I think this was Mendoza's Heisman moment. Did you catch any of the Big Ten championship at all?
I did watch some of it. I ended up watching the
number 2. I think will be Georgia.
I think so too. They deserve a bye, I think.
Here we go, folks, ladies and gentlemen.
Ohio State. They're number 2. Ohio State only drops to 2.
So, what's the penalty for losing the conference championship?
Not much.
So we just flip spots. Man, that is wild. 2 Big Ten teams seeded 1 and 2. Big Ten SEC haters are absolutely loving it.
But they beat everybody outside of Indiana. So and they handed some big time wins. They beat a bunch of teams. So all right, Indiana, Ohio State. There's the first 2 teams with byes.
So Georgia will probably stay the same. So there's no reward for winning the SEC championship.
I feel like with the current landscape, I feel like that's the thought process that you have to have. Because Ole Miss isn't going to get penalized because they didn't have to play. Georgia, number 3.
Georgia handled their business. Gunnar Stockton, they did have
played his ass off.
Yeah, they had a few. They made opportunities. They blocked the punt.
Yeah.
They absolutely dominated. Alabama just cannot run the football yesterday. I mean, they're showing clips of it. It's a bad read there by Ty Simpson. There's a nice little off tackle on a counter. Just getting stuff done. I mean, Georgia's a great football team, folks. I've always had respect for them. I've never picked on them for the Kirby Smart 2-7. Like I've never picked on them for it. I wouldn't want to face that. If I wasn't an Alabama fan, I'm surprised people do not have Georgia fatigue. It's kind of surprising. The last 3 years they've been running this thing, so let's just kind
All
of
right,
give them
who's
their
the
flowers.
last team with the bye? Who do you think it's going to be? Texas Tech.
I'm sorry, Texas. Well, they were in this driver's seat. None of these teams were all the bye week teams last ranking. All 4 of them had the bye last week, so there's no.
And the only argument was how much penalty is it to losing, and Ohio State. They just said, "Hey, we just dropped one little ranking. That's it." So it doesn't change too much. So heck yeah, they get a bye. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that roster.
I think they deserve it.
They said their NIL is just massive. So here we go. We're starting to get to the 5 seed. I think this might be where A&M sits.
It's either A&M or Ole Miss, I think.
Well, there was no game for those teams, and I think A&M was ranked ahead of Ole Miss last week. So 5 and 6 should be A&M and Ole Miss.
Yep. Oregon.
Oh, the Oregon Ducks.
Oregon Ducks are the 5 seed? Okay. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, their only loss is Indiana. So their only loss is to the best team in college football right now. So that's not the worst seeding for them. They're not getting a bye week. They didn't play for the Big Ten championship. So the committee's got Big Ten seeding correct. They didn't. They decided we're not going to penalize. We're just going to switch seeds, and Oregon's going to kind of stay. That's a good spot for them. I don't have any opposition to that. So the committee's got it right, folks. We've got 33 viewers. Thank you for tuning in to Justin Ball Sports, sitting us with us on this Sunday morning before your NFL kickoffs in 30 minutes.
Ole Miss or A&M? Who we got up next at the 6th seed?
This is the
Ole Miss is 6th seed.
Yep. All right, Bobby, you've got like a 1/10 of a second delay. As you say it right before it pops up on my screen, so I mean, Ole Miss, they had a good season. I'm curious, what they're going to do this year with Pete Golding. Somebody I was watching yesterday talked about Pete Golding getting signed as their coach, and there's not a huge buyout. And if it works, you've struck gold, and if not, you can just go swing for the fences next year. I don't think he's a head coach personally, but I mean, you just don't go from not coaching to taking a massive job in the SEC. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a big ask.
Right. 7th seed.
So we got 4 spots left, and 2 of them are going to be G5. So it's getting hairy now. It's getting hairy. I mean, the Aggies, their only loss was to Texas, and it wasn't embarrassing. But remember, they were getting their butts whipped against South Carolina at half and pulled off.
Yeah, they've kind of cooled down a good bit. They've cooled down a ton since the. All right, let's see.
No qualms with any of these.
Yeah, I think this is fair thus far. I think Oregon's ranked a little high, but that's okay. They've only lost to one team, and that's the Indiana Hoosiers. Oh, another SU team at number 8.
So there's going to be a home game in Norman.
That's going to be a good one.
So I think that let's see what we're doing here. Let's take a look at this bracket. I think that this next spot is either Alabama, Notre Dame, or Miami. This is it. We're at the reveal. Because you're going to get the 2 G5 teams in it. I'm sorry, you got 2 more spots. You got 2 more spots left. So
first team out, second team out. Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see who those 2 teams are. That the people that get snubbed, right? Because I think that's the biggest part of this. Oh, okay.
So it's 2 of these 3 are getting in, and it should be Alabama and Miami.
I
It
agree.
should be Alabama, Miami, because Miami's metrics and Notre Dame's, they're showing them on the screen. FPI, Notre Dame is 3, Miami's 7. Strength of record, Notre Dame's 13, Miami's 14. Strength of schedule, Notre Dame was 44, Miami's 46, but Miami's got the head-to-head. So who's making the trip to Norman, Oklahoma? The
Oh,
Crimson Tide, ladies and gentlemen. We are in, rightfully so. Good for the committee. You SEC haters can suck it. You Bama haters can suck it. The committee got it right. I'm not crashing out, folks.
so
A
y'all
rematch
are
with the
doing,
Sooner.
y'all are going to play Oklahoma and Norman.
That's right. And they got it right. But now they need to put Miami in. They need to put Miami in. God, dude, James Madison's going to go to Oregon and we.
That's not going to be good. Look, I mean, Eugene's not as scary as
Believe me, look, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I've got my team ready for this game now because they should have beat Oklahoma earlier in the year. They
yeah.
had played really sloppy with turnovers, short fields. I think that we're going to see a healthy Crimson Tide go. I'm curious to see what the line is on that. Let's see who gets the last spot. It's got to be Miami, folks, if there's any
I
justice.
hope so.
It's got to be Miami's got the head-to-head, or what are we doing? So Miami be going to Oxford. You should go, Bobby.
Oh
You
yeah,
should go.
Oxford home game. I was
You
thinking
should go.
about it. I was
Go
absolutely
root
thinking
against
about
them.
it.
You're a Mississippi State fan.
Wear my
They
Chris
got it
Jones
right,
journey
folks.
to Ernest Hemingway Stadium. Sounds like
Roll
a
damn
smart move.
Tide. Sorry, Auburn fans. Hey, Auburn, you can't even make the Birmingham Bowl.
They did play y'all pretty hard at the end of the season. They always play y'all hard though. I mean, y'all
Yeah, but
end up winning, but
here
there
we
we
go.
go.
Oh, the U. Dun, 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 dun. Notre Dame, schedule someone because you're getting what you deserve.
And this like it values this, right? Like you can't just play a cupcake schedule unless you win every single game that's good. And
Yep.
Indiana did that, right? But
There it is right there. They're showing it. The FPI was 1, the SOS was 1, the SOR was 2. So they're the same exact team, but there's a head-to-head.
that's going to
Folks,
be an interesting game. Miami at Texas A&M. That's going to be a very interesting game. I think Texas A&M beats the hell out of them, but
I mean, they're showing it. So it's just they're dead even on everything, but there's a head-to-head to separate them, folks.
yeah,
That wasn't a hard decision. None of
I don't
this
think so.
is questionable. I think the committee saved their own rear end.
Yeah,
You know, and Notre Dame fans are probably on Twitter right now screaming, "How are they going to jump us when they were behind us last week and both teams will
schedule
idle?"
someone. Be in a division.
No,
You can't
there's
keep
a
being
head-to-head.
independent.
That's how. Good for you for scheduling. Like there's Carson Beck tearing your ass up right there in week 1, way back Labor Day Monday, which I did pick Miami to win that game.
I won a substantial amount of money on that one.
Carson Beck's pretty decent. It'll be a, they like to make fun
He
of him.
has his moments where he's really good, and then other times where he is just legitimately horrible, horrifying. So, last 2 spots. Who do you think gets in here?
Tulane and James Madison, I think, are the last 2. Tulane's going to go to Oxford, which might be a little bit of a fun game considering Pete Golding's, that might be a little more intriguing than people think, but James Madison going to Oregon is putting you in the lion's den.
Tulane did play a couple years ago in Oxford, and Tulane did not have their starting quarterback, and they almost beat Ole Miss. They almost beat them.
Unless they put Notre Dame in this spot, and put Notre Dame and then put Tulane in, the first team out is JMU. I don't know if we're going to get 2 G5s here, so Notre Dame might have a small chance here.
How do you feel about the Notre Dame Ole Miss matchup then?
Well, we'll see what they reveal here. Like, I wish they'd stop talking and just reveal it.
Well, I feel like everybody knew outside of the Miami Notre Dame, like the top 9 teams outside of maybe Alabama, everybody knew who they were going to be. Let's see.
Oh,
there we go.
So Tulane goes to Ole Miss. That should be an interesting matchup. I think Tulane's going to have everything to fight for, and Ole Miss is either going to unite or collapse. I am intrigued by that. That's going to mean Jay Madison is going to get that spot and go to Oregon, which nobody's going to watch. James Madison, the Kurt Signetti stepping stone. James Madison's head coach just got a job. And they just hired Billy Napier, Sun Belt King, to go back to props to the Sun Belt for getting in over Notre Dame, unless it's Duke. Oh, that'd be funny. It's either James Madison or Duke.
I'm very curious.
If they put Duke in, then they're really disregarding
James Madison.
Well, folks, we got the playoffs set. I want the first teams out is going to be Notre Dame, and the second team, or the first team out is going to be Notre Dame, and the second team out is going to be BYU. That's how I see the last two spots. I mean, even though they don't mean anything because they're not postseason.
You know, this is maybe the first time in a little while that I can genuinely say I am not angry at any of this. I think maybe if you're Notre Dame, you may think you deserve it, right? Because there's a team that's right next to you, pretty much dead even with you outside of a head-to-head matchup that's in and you're not.
I think some of the things that there's Notre Dame's the first team out. Second team's out, either BYU or Texas, but I think it'll be BYU.
Well, here it is.
Yeah.
Here is the top 12 rankings, and then BYU's next up. I think this makes sense. Makes sense. I think, Alabama, Oklahoma, that's going to be a great matchup. Oregon, James Madison, that's going to be a just whooping fest. That's probably going to be a 30-point game. Tulane, Ole Miss, genuinely with the coaching change for Tulane and Ole Miss, and coming off how good Tulane played against North Texas, a team that's been great this year. Tulane has I think this is going to be less than a touchdown line for Ole Miss. I think it's going to be minus 6.5, something like that, because I think Tulane's going to be trying to stomp their head in.
Well, of course they are. I mean, it is a college football playoff, and I think that the feed got kicked. I'm getting text that the show went away. I think for a moment there, because for some reason it's giving me a copyright on mine, so everybody's watching on your channel.
Okay.
So I don't know what I did. But we have 30 viewers. I think a lot of them are on your channel or on X. And folks, I apologize, but we do have 30 viewers. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. So some of the quick first-round matchups again. We got James Madison headed to Eugene, Oregon. We got Tulane heading to Oxford to play Ole Miss. We got Miami going on the road to play Texas A&M, and we got Alabama playing Oklahoma, folks, in an SEC rematch. And we will see how things play out from there. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for turning in to Cover 2 Cash for today.
Absolutely.
On this college football short. We put this together real short. Do you have any last thoughts on college football? Do you think they got it right? Anything you change?
I think this is about as – I think Oregon's maybe a little high, but, I mean, outside of that, I think everything is right. I think they got it right on this one, and I'm very happy to say that because the committee can definitely screw some things up. I think Alabama's right where they need to be. I think Miami should have got in over Notre Dame. And, yeah, I think they did a fantastic job here. I'm thoroughly surprised with how accurate that they did here. I mean, that's their job to get this right, and they just don't a lot of the time. So I'm glad everything worked out here.
Yeah, we'll see because the path to the playoffs is going to be. Do you have the bracket? I closed the feed for the TV. I guess maybe it was picking it up on my end, but nonetheless, I think that might have been why I got the copyright because I had that split app instead of it on a separate tab.
It wasn't broadcasting here though.
It's still broadcasting here, but it's not broadcasting on my YouTube channel. It's broadcasting on yours and on X. I think they got everything right. Miami should have got that last spot. That is correct due to head-to-head. So they didn't punish conference championship losers. They flipped Indiana and Ohio State. BYU was not ranked high enough. That's why they're not in this graphic.
Yep.
Otherwise, they would be in at-large. It's that simple. And Miami did not play in a conference championship and made leaps and bounds by remaining idle. Notre Dame fans are probably beside themselves, but schedule somebody tougher. I don't know what to tell you. Beat Miami and you're in.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
Alabama's got
or beat one other good team. I mean, beat Texas A&M or schedule somebody else like a Texas Tech or Oklahoma or something like that, and just give
Alabama.
yourself more opportunities to show that you're a good football team. You can't just play Stanford all the time. I mean,
If you look at these teams, Alabama played two of these teams on this list already and beat one of them. So, and they were the only team to beat the SEC champ in Georgia. The only team to do that in God knows how long. And the committee rightfully awarded it, rewarded them for that. And if Alabama did not beat Georgia earlier this year, I don't think they'd be in. I don't. I think if they had two losses and played Georgia, well, if they had, let's say if they had two losses going into this and they lost to Georgia, I think that they would have been bumped out. But I don't know. If they lost to Georgia, they wouldn't have played in the SEC championship game. But good for them for staying consistent for last year. So they've set the precedent. They've maintained the precedent. If you lose, you're not going to get bumped if you're ranked accordingly prior to the SEC championship game. For those that can't follow how those things work. So,
and most importantly, they showed you the criteria and they
yes.
accurately ranked these teams based on criteria. Like James Madison, I mean, they're 12-1. They've beat the hell out of a lot of decent schools, and it shows you like, hey, you don't have to be a part of the Power Four to get in. You just have to win all of your matchups. So that's important. I like that. I like Tulane's able to get in, right? And it gives these teams in the American Conference, the Sun Belt, etc., an opportunity to make the college football playoff. You don't have to win out completely. So I like this a lot. I think this is probably the best way to do it. So yeah, I'm thoroughly happy with this.
Virginia would have been in if they won. They would have been 11-2, and James Madison would not be on the board today. Virginia would have been going on the road to play Oregon because Virginia had 10 wins. And I don't think that I think, Virginia would have been 11 or 12. Virginia would have been 11. Tulane would have been 12, but I think Miami would have still got in there. We don't know. Win the games. You got to sometimes, okay, so I almost sound hypocritical, but Virginia was not ranked in that top 10 prior to this week, just like BYU. Like, where you were ranked prior to the conference championship week is really going to determine what kind of cushion you're going to have for your conference championship games. That's got to be the criteria. Everybody understands. If you're not in the top 10 prior to conference championship weekend, it's really hard for you to move up if you don't play. Miami, luckily, had the head-to-head against Notre Dame because Notre Dame was ranked 10. And the committee can do what they want. I'm sure Irish fans are screaming on the internet. I know Bama haters are screaming on the internet.
This is a little blurry, guys. I just took this from a snipping tool here, but so we've got James Madison, Oregon at the top. I think Oregon clears them completely. Let's just do a little crazy little prediction here. I'm going to say Oregon clears James Madison, goes and plays Texas Tech. Alabama, Oklahoma. I do have Alabama winning the rematch, so it would be Alabama, Indiana. And then Tulane, Ole Miss. I have Ole Miss. They're going to play Georgia. And then Miami, Texas A&M. I've got Texas A&M playing that. Ohio State, I think it's going to be Ohio State and Georgia on one side. And then I think it's going to be Oregon and Indiana on the other. So I think Indiana gets past the Crimson Tide. Just they've proven it to me. They have proven it to me that that they can beat any team in the country. And I think it's Georgia, Indiana in the national championship. And call me crazy, I got Indiana winning the whole thing. They are the 1 seed. It is a little, cliche, but I think Indiana has shown enough to me. They have beat the hell out of the bad teams, and they've gone in and beaten the good teams like Oregon, like Ohio State. Penn State, I know, didn't have a great record, but they're still a good team. I think Indiana wins the whole damn thing. What about you? Where do you see this this playoff bracket going? I've got Georgia, Indiana in the championship.
Well, I think I'm going to kind of slow down here with some of this stuff. So I think that Miami can take Texas A&M. I'm going to call for the Hurricanes to pull an upset and go on the road and handle business down there in College Station. That's going to be an electric environment. But Miami, Carson Beck's played in the SEC, and he's had success there at Georgia, and I think Miami's going to pull off the upset there down there in College Stations. I think that I'm going to go long shot in the next pick because I'm going to take Tulane to pull off the upset. I think the SEC is going to bleed in these two first home games, and we're going to see Tulane against Georgia. We're going to see Miami against Ohio State. Now, if Alabama's healthy, I like the rematch to go their way. They should have won the first game. I think Alabama sorely was missing one of their offensive linemen. They missed Jam Miller. Xavier Brown got injured. LT Overton was out. And that made a world of difference. And if you look at the game overall, the score looks worse than everything really is. There were 4 short fields for Georgia. Alabama obviously looked really lousy and were out of their element. I expect a refocus there. So I'm going to take the Crimson Tide to play Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, I will live stream that one. I will live stream that one because that's the path that you want to see as an Alabama fan. So I got Alabama going to play Indiana in a neutral site. And then up top, I can't go against Oregon.
Yeah,
this Sun Belt team, Oregon's very loaded football team. They got a quarterback who might be 1-1A with Arch Manning in the 2027 NFL draft going on up there. Dan Lanning's an amazing coach. He does great work. So I'm going to take Oregon and Texas Tech. And then if we go into round 2, I'm going to take Oregon to beat Texas Tech. So Oregon heads to the semifinals. And I'm calling for it. I'm going to take Alabama to beat Indiana.
You've got the resume, man. You've got the talent. You've got the resume. You just have to get it done, right? So
I've got to stick with my pick. And again, everybody's going to scream, well, you're a homer. But I've seen what Alabama's been through this year. I've watched some Indiana football, and they got the job done, folks. And they beat an Ohio State team on a neutral field. But we're going to see, here's a little bit of a caveat here. Kalen DeBoer has coached in a national championship. This is going to be Curt Cignetti in Indiana's first postseason game prior to winning the Big Ten for the first time since World War II. So it's going to be a big ass. So I've got Oregon and Alabama in the semifinals, and I've got Georgia just putting the belt on Tulane.
Yeah.
And I've got
it's a good story. It's a good Cinderella story until you run into a brick wall.
And then down at the bottom, it's going to be the most exciting game of the 4. We got Miami and Ohio State. I think this game goes to overtime.
Ooh.
But I've seen Carson Beck just mess this up a little bit. I think Ohio State, Caleb Downs picks up Carson Beck in overtime. So I've got Ohio State and Georgia on the bottom, Alabama and Oregon on the top. Now we've seen Kalen DeBoer and Dan Lanning play 3 times. Do you know what the record is?
I'm going to say 3-0 DeBoer.
That is correct. I'm going to put the Crimson Tide against Georgia in a rematch for the national championship. That's the way I see it. And like I said, I'm sticking with my preseason pick to pick Alabama to win it all. I've just seen it with what they do. I know that they've looked bumpy. I'm not foolish or nothing along those sorts. Hello, Dale. Thanks for tuning in. But Crimson Tide over Georgia in game 3, God, people will be screaming to the rooftops if we have this playoff and it comes down to those 2 teams playing for a championship game. But I see more depth with those teams than I see. And make no mistake, I think Indiana could go really deep and make a run. Oregon could do this too, but I'm going off past histories and current situations with current coaches. Texas Tech has never been in a playoff game, So, but with that being said, we are about to wrap this up.
Okay, Dale. Dale said, "I'm guessing Texas Tech will win the national title." You know what?
Anything's possible.
They have spent so much money on that roster, and they only have one bad loss. One loss, and they have been schooling everybody else. So it's definitely a possibility. They got a hard road, though. They have to play Indiana, Oklahoma, Alabama, one of those 3, and then they have to play Oregon. James Madison, there's just no shot, I don't think. But Oregon you have to play Oregon. That's just going to be so tough, man. So Texas Tech has probably one of the hardest routes of any team to make it to, and they have a bye. they just have to win 2 of the hardest matchups, I think. But Texas Tech, they can do it. They have the talent. So, and they have a really solid offense. I love their offense. So,
all right, folks, NFL is about to kick off. So we are going to end the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode of Cover 2 Cash. I got to figure out why I got kicked for copyright on my stream. So most of you guys are tuning in through X. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next Friday with an episode of Cover 2 Cash. Y'all have a great day. And you Alabama haters, you're just going to have to go to the liquor store and buy yourself a bottle of whiskey and drown your sorrows because we're going to win, folks. We are in, rightfully so. Congrats to the committee. Congrats for getting it right. And you guys can just have yourself. And the Packers are going to beat the Bears today. I just got to put that out.